Mark Persons, CPBE, CBNT, and AMD, spent his life in broadcast engineering, receiving the SBE Engineer of the Year Award in 2018 and the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2020. Now retired at age 75, he continues his interest and involvement in broadcasting as a mentor to 5 radio broadcast engineers and is a participant in the National Radio Systems Committee on AM Improvement. In his spare time, Mark enjoys web writing and is webmaster of the SBE Chapter 17 website. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. And retirement was a change of vocations. It really was, but it was for the better. You know, as far as the web goes, we all search for information on the internet, and websites, in my opinion, well, they're the brick and mortar of the internet. They are usually more trusted than Facebook if they're written well. Each of our SBE chapters should present itself in a professional way. A website can be a positive experience, or it can be a big negative if the site is out of date. Ouch. A website is an organization's chance to tell its story, tell it in a positive light. At the 2019 Summer Twin Cities Society Broadcast Engineers Picnic, I volunteered to take over the SBE 17 website, and it's been a wonderful volunteer experience. And now I'm going to ask, how many of you have written for the web? Oh, now wait a minute. Well, let me qualify that a little bit. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram don't count. Okay. Oh, that's right, Hal, you did that. Okay. So let's look at the SBE 17 website, and we'll go through it piece by piece so you understand what it's all about. And then I'm going to show you how to work with it. So let me share screen right now. Share screen, and I'm going to got screen number 2, and you should see the website that we're talking about, SBE Chapter 17 full screen. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, I picked, as I mentioned, Weebly because it's easier to use. There are some really high-tech ones that I would fear putting in someone's hands because they'll get frustrated with it and they can't continue it. So I want this thing to continue for a long time, as it should. So what are you seeing in the slide here? You're seeing the banner image of the SBE 17 website, and it's just a photo I caught, get this, at the top of the IDS building, the tallest building in Minneapolis, and it's 792 feet above the street. If I had it to do again, I'd stand back further and get some more landscape, but this is what I had. And in the future, that can change to be something else. It doesn't always have to be that, but you look at it and you know, gosh, this is engineer stuff. And on the top lines here, it says SBE, and I can click on that, and it brings up a different tab, but it goes to the Society of Broadcast Engineers. And same thing with the written part, Society of Broadcast Engineers. Any links that hook onto a website that are external should always be in a separate tab so that the people using the site won't get lost. It can't come back. Here's the mission statement. We're a nonprofit professional organization of radio and television engineers who build, repair, and update radio and television facilities. All broadcast engineers are welcome to join our group. That's the call to action. Join our group. And I'll be explaining more of that later, but that's a link to another part of the site. And then it says most of our meetings are being held online during COVID. Well, it happens. Okay. And in this yellow box here, it says there are no strangers here, only engineers you haven't met. And engineer is spoken here because it's a broadcast engineer site. And get this, think positive is in red, and test negative is in green, just the way you want it to be. And then we've got Minnesota weather radar. We've got Twin Cities radar, because that's where most of the members are. And then there's a search box, and we'll talk about that later. Meanwhile, as an amateur photographer, have taken a few images, and not all of them are mine, but any of them that might be sensitive, like this one, this tower image, I got that one, and I didn't steal it from anywhere. Here's our logo, which has been on the website for many years. The IDS building, here it is, only we were on the roof. And here's one that I caught of the moon the other night when there was that eclipse, but I thought it looked kind of neat because we're engineers. This is a Stone Arch Bridge. It's a very famous bridge in Minneapolis, and I spent 3 hours getting that photo, by the way. Now, below that, there are a bunch of offerings. Gosh, there I am, June 13th, 3 p.m., doing a talk for the National SBE. And then the next one is the next big thing radio show. And that's coming up July 21st. Yeah. And then I thought there was a fourth one here. Anyway, and then there's another meeting in July. Okay, fine. Then I just happened to have in my bag of tricks a couple of images of the skylines of Minneapolis and St. Paul. So I threw them in there. Now, this is a news site, so to speak, in many ways. News, Neil Swanson, one of our broadcast engineers, passed away. Here's the story, and here's a link to his obit. Now, everyone knows Terry Bond, twice president of the Society of Broadcast Engineers. He passed away. Here's the story. There's an SBE story, which I click on, and it goes to a separate tab, so I don't lose it. And then there's a Radio World story about him, too. Jeremy Ruck, a well-known engineering consultant at age 50 years old, otherwise in perfect health, died of COVID. Now, there's a newspaper article here that says, and I won't click on it, but basically, well, maybe I should click on it. Basically, it says he died because he was unvaccinated. Now, I let them make that judgment. I can't make that judgment. I have to, we're not politically motivated, or we're not religiously motivated. Just the facts, ma'am. You remember that from Dragnet? Just the facts, ma'am. That's what we need to do. We don't need to slant it in any other direction, in my opinion, and that's probably the right thing. Below that, job offerings. There's 3 of them there. And then education. And in Minnesota, we have something called Power Limited Technician. It's the low voltage wiring license, which you have to be a licensed electrician for low voltage to do that. And I think they do that in California too. When we get to the bottom of the page, we've got another SBE logo, and we've got a search bar if we want it. And we have a disclaimer. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that right now. I'll get that later. And then on the right-hand side, does everyone recognize that? It's a QR code. And you say, oh, what's that doing there? Well, if someone's looking over your shoulder and says, what website is that? And you say, just point at the QR code, and away you go. Now, here we are at the bottom of the page. And did you notice that the menus are still at the top of the page? How many websites have that? I picked one where that capability was there. So now I'm going to look at About. Wow. This photo was taken pre-COVID. You couldn't get away with that today, but that's our group of Society of Broadcast Engineers in 2019 at our summer picnic. Boy, that made a great shot. And look at that. I even got them to raise their hands to say hi to us. And what this photo says is, we are friendly people. We're real people. We like you, at least. And oh, by the way, anyone who's got a question, ask it. That's fine. Then I've got another slideshow going here. And these are easy to do. You just need to be a bit of a photographer. And this is all things we know how to do, tower climbers, all that. And this was a national meeting. Forget which one, where one we're tired. Here's a handsome guy with a field intensity meter. How about that? And here's a 3-tower AM directional in Brainerd, and it says that KLIZ. And is this you, Jim, hanging from that line? Oh,
I don't think so.
okay. Now, a lot of websites, they'll have the chairman's name. It'll say chairman and John Blomstrand. Okay, nothing else. Well, that doesn't tell you anything about that person. How about a photo so you know what he looks like if you see him at a meeting? And how about a bio to go with it? All of those things make the website so much more interesting, so much more viable. And then we get down to the treasurer who is slow in getting back to me. Oh, I'll do it someday. Okay, here's the rest. And here's me. And so that's the about page. Then we've got the stories page. And I'm going to go to 2021 stories because I'll get to the 2022 later. Does anyone know where this hill is with broadcast towers on it? Any thoughts? Well, it's Duluth, Minnesota, taken from the harbor looking at the hill. And this this self-supporter was one that my father had installed in the 1930s for one of the very first FMs. Going down the page, these are our meetings and stories for 2021. What I've done is I've captured images and videos, and they're on the page. So if someone didn't make it to the meeting, well, they can attend the meeting on the website. Here is our SBE picnic from last year. It was not a good turnout because, gosh, it was COVID. So the brave ones came out, and that was us. And so there we are. For those, for professional photographers, it's called the firing squad photo. Just stand there and we'll shoot you. So what about these galleries of photos? If I click on one, gosh, I see a larger image. I get a chance to see it in a better light. And here's one of, oh, I'll show you how this transmitter works. Now, isn't that's telling a story? Websites should tell stories. That's my feeling. Okay, membership. I'll click on that one. Here is where we might have headed earlier, but I wanted to show you the 2 younger faces in broadcast engineering. That's a bit unusual, but I happen to get a couple. I always have my camera handy, and sometimes it works out. Out of 90 photos, maybe 3 are what I want, and the rest I throw away. So under membership, it says, oh, we can go to SBE and we can learn about how to become a member. And on. There's a SBE's more technical training program. Oh, Hal, that's you. Okay. And more. Now we've got another one for awards. And here's, awards for local chapter members. Links. Does anyone know this bridge? It connects Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's a lighted bridge. They can change the color of the lights. Imagine that. Anyway, I thought, well, if you think links, shouldn't the bridge is linking 2 places? Doesn't that tell a story? Then down below, 3-tower array. That's also, and it's labeled, I put it on there, KLIZ AM and FM, Brainerd, Minnesota. I got that while in an airplane with a relative who wanted to fly me around, camera in hand, of course. If I didn't have a camera, I wouldn't have the photo. So that's the way it goes. Contact information. Now here's something that every SBE chapter should get easily. Go to the nearest control room, say smile, get a photo, and now you've got a banner photo. Easy enough. How about the rest of this? On the lower right, these are meters from a BE transmitter. And then on the left, there is a form where you can fill in and request information or whatever. We got a couple new members that way. They just, kind of showed up out of nowhere and said, "Hey, how can I be a member?" Wow. And that email goes then to a private email, which in my case is my email. Then I disseminate it to the members of the group. Oh, here we are. Search. So let's try another search. It's on the bottom, the footer of every one of the pages. I'm going to put in JON and hit OK. Now, what do we find? John, somebody got an award. Okay, where is he? Here he is, John Blomstrand, a member, and he was Chapter 17 Engineer of the Year 2021. And there's a story. It tells about him, about the things he's done. That's the way it should be, not just a name. Oh, let me go back to that one a minute. Oh, and here's an award for the website, which SBE Chapter 17 won last year. And you recognize that, of course. And it's on one of those, make me bigger images here. So let's go back to the other one. Also, John was something about. What's John? Oh, he's John Blomstrand, the one we talked about earlier. You see, all these things tie together, and that search engine is so nice. And there's searches on every page at the bottom and some in the middle. All right, where else? I think that pretty well covers it. Do you have any questions that might come to mind? Just trying to keep it fun and interesting. Go back to the home. Yeah.
I like that you have the search at the bottom of the screen, because oftentimes when I'm on a website and I scroll down through a bunch of things and then I want to search for something else, I got to go all the way back to the top. I guess the alternative is just to have one of those little top buttons that shoots you back up to the top of the page too. But
sure,
I like that.
Okay. All right. So let's look at the nuts and bolts of this whole thing. The URL, Uniform Resource Locator. It's the source address. It's the address for the website. And you don't own those except you rent them by the year. And you'll notice this one has a lock next to the website address. And that one is, it means that it's a secure website. I don't know all the nuances of that, but some browsers don't look at non-secure sites. There are a number of domain name registries that will rent you the name. And some of them charge a lot. This particular site was $49 a year to own the domain name. Well, I transferred it to Pair Domains at $13 a year when I bought it for 5 years. Well, that really worked out well. And there are cheaper ones, but quite frankly, I go for quality. I go for people I can trust. Now, here's something that's extremely important. Our chapter secretary has the username and passwords for the domain name and the website. In case something happens to me, I could die in an auto accident. They'd be up the creek and without a paddle. So, and another thing is, I am only the administrator at this moment. So I don't own the web name, and that's caused a lot of problems elsewhere. The webmaster has it, and he gets mad at them and holds them up for ransom, and everything else just gets to be quite a mess. So don't let that happen to you. Always, your chapter secretary has all that information. Let's see. I like web writing because I can write it from my desk without going to a transmitter in the middle of the night in the winter. And you probably think of a website as a graphic layout. Well, it is by way of HTML, hypertext markup language. And let me give you an example of that. Well, let me think. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I will show you how I put the website together before. This is HTML1. This is the basic HTML that is not smartphone friendly. It is basic stuff. It worked. This is the way it was for the first couple of years, year and a half, that is. I had a menu system, home, news, officers, links, and that kind of thing. And it worked, but it did not look good on smartphones. But this, you can see the editor at the top. It's got all the tools there, everything from fonts and photos and links and all that kind of stuff. But this is what you see. It's a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. And it's Microsoft Expression Web, which followed Microsoft Front Page. And I used those successfully for years, but gosh, now I'm going to tell you that moving over to HTML5, which is the cell phone, smartphone, tablet friendly one, is like going from a tube transmitter to a solid state transmitter. Huge difference. Let me show you what goes on in the background with the WYSIWYG editor, and even with today's smart websites. This is the code. The editors actually write code. I'm not very good at writing code and not very good at all, but I use the WYSIWYG. I'd come in here and make little changes, but really the HTML, hypertext markup language, is a set of instructions telling web browsers what to do with the information. And we can glean from this some pieces of information right here. Chapter 17, Minneapolis, St. Paul. But the rest of it is fonts and where they go and the whole business. Try writing that. Ouch. That's, and some people know how to do that. So let me get rid of that. Oh, once it's written like this, it's only on a person's computer. And then I have to do something like this. This is called an FTP, File Transfer Protocol. This is the way I used to do it. And here on the left side is my computer. It's a file on my computer labeled SBE17. On the right, it's the server that it would go to. So I would mark a file on the left, push the right, go to the right button, it would transfer the file over there, and then it would be on the website. And conversely, if I had messed up a file on the left and I needed it back, I could go to the server here and say, give me that file back. But that's pretty unusual. So that's how it was. Let me show you how it is today. This is the same website you were looking at, but it's surrounded by some other information. Here on the left, it shows the pages. So if I click on a page, you'll see the About page come up. Oh, I should preface this by saying that I logged in to Weebly using a username and password, and this is what came up. And I'll get out of here. And these are the pages involved. And then there's build. I can take a tool from the tool bin over on the left, and I can drag it over and do something with it on the right-hand side. So let's take and make a change. We're going to talk about today's talk under 2022 stories. Here's a photo of my wife and I at Kilgore, Texas, at a broadcasting museum. TV camera, there we were sitting in front of it. I thought that made a great banner photo. And what do we see that here? Well, I see a May 17th meeting. Okay, what if we talk about today's meeting? Here's how we'll do it. First thing you do is I'll go over to the menu on the left. I'm going to take text and I'm going to drag it in here. and lay it down. Did you notice it takes a couple seconds? It's the web page here talking to the server, who knows where, and says, put some text in at this location. Now we need to have the text. I'm going to go back to the home page, and I'm going to grab the offering that says Monday the 13th. I'm going to Control C, copy that. Then I'll go to the stories for 2022, and I'm going to paste that in there. Well, this was future tense, so I'm going to change it to past tense. Delete. SBE chapter, remember, did a talk to the national and local SBE members on writing websites for local chapters. And I'll take out the anyone can attend, and we'll leave it that way. Now, if I want that to go live, I'd push this button in the upper right-hand corner that says publish, but I have more to do. I'm going to take and put a divider in here between the YouTube part that will maybe contain for this one or whatever. Then I'm going to add an image down below. You see the line across there? And I'm going to go find an image from my computer. Oh boy, where did I do with that? 2022. No, that's not it. Web writing. And here's the image. There's this handsome guy sitting at his computer, and he's the one who gave the talk. Let's do some things with this image. First of all, I'm going to put a little line around it under advanced, border, thin. Just gives it a little class. Then I'm going to put a caption under it, and I'm going to call this Mark Persons. And there's the caption. There's more slides to show, so I'm going to take from the left the gallery, and I'm going to put it under my photo. And in there, I'm going to upload from my computer. And I'll do 1, 2, 4. Okay, I will do those 4 images. You didn't see where they came from on my computer, but easy enough. All right, now and I'm going to set it up so there's just 2 across and 2 high. I did that. Problem is they're out of order. So my next stop is to move them around. I'm going to move this one up, and I'm going to then move as in the order that I gave it in, the actual HTML code. Then I'm going to move this one, the file transfer protocol over here, and finally it winds up over here, just so that so it all happens in chronological order. And another thing about stories on websites is you always want the newest one on top. And of course, Facebook does that too, for good reason. If it's the home page where it's something coming up, the newest things happen on the top, and then the later things into July happen below. And then I can just take the one off the top. But I forgot to mention, anywhere in here, I can push publish, and it takes a few seconds for this browser here to upload all of the right stuff to the website. And then I can go and look at the website and look at stories for 2022. And guess what? There's the story as seen on the web. It went live. Isn't that cool, huh? All right, what else we got? Oh, there's more. Search engine optimization. If I go to pages and I look at my home page, SEO settings, and in there on the left, I put on SBE, Society of Broadcast Engineers, Chapter 17, all those things that Google's looking for. And then each page has that information too. So I try and customize it for each one of the pages. Let me tell you that if I had hired this work done, probably we're talking $2,000 plus a change fee for every time we add something. And that the person doing it would likely not know anything about who broadcasters, engineers are. They wouldn't know the lingo, the language, and they'd make mistakes. It needs to be done by someone in-house, no question about it. And just if you think that you have to hire someone, absolutely bad choice. In fact, I will give you an example. If you look to get the award from SBE for best chapter website, the fine print says your chapter must exercise full control over the website, and they want the webmaster's name. And in essence, it means you do it in-house. It's not hired out. You might argue that point, but it's still the best way to go. As mentioned earlier, I said you probably need to be a little bit photography savvy to get all the things right. And my notes today on that stories page tells you it says 3,000 pixels across for banners, 2,000 for full-size images, 1,500 for slideshows, and 250 pixels across for icons. And by icon, I mean, here's my photo, here's Taylor's. Taylor's is actually 100 right now. It's a work in progress. I keep changing what I'm doing, and it just keeps, getting a little better. And sometimes, and I go through it, every day. Well, every few days. There is one site I go through several times a day, but that's a 90-page site that I write for the Veterans of Foreign Wars, an organization I'm very much a part of. And again, it's volunteer work. I don't get paid a penny. And I can tell the story from the inside of the organization. I don't need I don't need to try and explain to someone how an organization runs. Does that just about cover it? Oh, I have more to show you. I mentioned working well on mobile devices. This web browser or web writing tool from Weebly allows me to see what the site looks like when it's on a smartphone. Now, what you see here is all the same information that you saw before, only formatted differently. The major change is the menu, the hamburger menu. You use those frequently on your smartphones. What if you didn't have a hamburger menu on a website? You'd probably tune away from it. Let me click on the hamburger menu. Okay, these are all of the possibilities. I can click on stories, and I can click on 2022 stories. And next thing you know, that's the part that we just did. And that's what it looks like on a smartphone. You don't edit on that one, but you find out how bad it is. And there are compromises. Sometimes it doesn't come out quite right. So I change font sizes and things like that. And here I am back to the desktop site again. Any additional questions? Oh, did I do that good a job? Let's see. I think I've covered everything. All I can say is that every chapter, every organization should have a website to tell the world what it is that we're here for. It's your chance, and the cost is minimal. Actually, for SBE 17, the cost per year is about $170. It's $144 a year for Weebly, and there's a domain name charge, and that brings it up to closer to 170. Cheap at twice the price because of the good advertising you get for it. I do know from my VFW website, the mayor was going to come and talk to us, and he didn't know what to say. So get this, he went to the website, and what did he find? A poem that one of our members had written. So he printed it out, came to our meeting, and read the poem to us. It saved him, and gosh, it was right there. All he had to do was look for it, and it worked perfectly in the occasion. And I'm looking over my notes, see if there's anything else I missed, but that's pretty much it. I just enjoy doing it. And I'm just a amateur. I never had any instruction. I just take it and run with it, have a wonderful time. And it feels good when I make a change, and then I can go look at it on the web. It's like, I don't know, recording your voice for radio, and then you go out to your car and turn it on and listen to your voice. Is that how announcers work? I don't know. I was never really one of them, but that's their thing. Anyway, this is my thing. I can tell the world what's going on, and it's just fun. I really enjoy doing it.
Well, Mark, you answered the one question I had. I was wondering about cost, being an old finance person. That cost is very affordable to get your chapter on the web.
Mm-hmm. And it beats the $2,000 plus that I was quoted just by talking to a professional. I said, well, what would it cost? Oh, $2,000. Okay, thanks a heap. And it's this is always being changed. In fact, a site that I work on more, I mentioned that a few minutes ago, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I change it almost daily, and it wound up really high in the Google rankings, one for content and one for frequent changes. And it came out, get this, number 2 in the nation, preceded only by the National Veterans of Foreign Wars organizations. It meant that I'm making more changes, more content than any other VFW post in the country, only because there's a lot to say and I enjoy doing it.
Does this also have a quick ability to link to social networks? So LinkedIn or something else?
Well, I can create a link to Facebook or something like that. Yes, that's available. However, Chapter 17 doesn't have any of those.
Okay.
So easy enough to do, just like I would create a link to the Weather Bureau. Here, oops, let me go over. I can't use the links in the part where I write it, the writing tools, but just like when I link to the Weather Service. So a social media thing is the same deal.
What about like a share button? Does it have a share button anywhere? So you can share it.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I haven't done that.
Okay.
And I know
you could share a website. You would copy the URL and send that.
Yeah, that's true.
Just the web address.
Yeah.
Sure. And it could be a web address, not necessarily from the main page, but it could be from the stories page. Okay. And that's got its own URL. sb17.org/2022-stories.
Mark, can you go back to the dashboard and share us where the icon is to put in a URL? A link?
A link.
Somewhere on this dashboard, there has to be an input link somewhere.
Actually, let's see. How could I do that? I highlight it, and then I hit the button that appears for links, and then I can just I can just put it in right there.
Okay.
And that's easy. And so it's full of links. There's another thing that gets you higher on the Google scale is more links to other places. And I'm always looking for more photos, so I'll just keep adding them as I can. And stories, then the old stories drop off the bottom of the list, but they stay under the list of stories from past years. Oh, there's more. The software is not here on this machine. It is in the sky. I'm just using it, but let's say under settings, the site title, SBE 17, and then there is a favorite icon, and that's the SBE logo. You see that as a part of the tab, the left side of the tab on your browser. And then I regularly ask for an archive. I put in my email address here, then I email it, and an hour later, I get a link that says, okay, here's your zipped file. So I can save that in case something goes wrong on the server end. I've got a record of it, and it can be recreated from that information, because really, I don't have anything on my machine except on my files. I have, hang on, website. Okay. Let's see. Okay, on my machine, I've got images of people, and I got my slideshow images. They're all on my machine. They're here. The difference is that it's all the words that go with them, and that's what the part is about, the zipping it so that it's available in case something goes wrong. And I even have some, well, would you call that religious? I guess you would. Nothing bad was meant by it, but I put it on the website during December just to make it a nice site. Maybe I crossed the line. Oops.
Kind of a seasonal thing.
Yeah. So let's see, pages, apps, settings. And there's much that I haven't used, and I can change themes. I won't go into that. But again, pages, I can look at any one of the pages, 2015 stories, having lots of fun at the picnics, that kind of thing, and or any other story that I've got. So now you know what engineers look like. And you know what engineers eat for lunch too. That was early on. My photography has gotten a little better. So, and that's about all I know. I don't hire out, but I will offer lessons on how to do this. What's the right thing to do? The do's and the don'ts. Oh, and I should also mention that when you get your web domain name, you should follow that scheme that the SBE is set up. In our case, it's SBE17.org. That's our chapter number after SBE, Society of Broadcast Engineers. And it's .org because we are not for profit. We are not taxed. It should never, 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 never be a .com. .com puts you in that commercial category. People think of .com, but they should not ever use it for a website like this. It's a .org. I was fortunate enough to get, for the Veterans of Foreign Wars in Brainerd, the .com name so that no one else could use it. And I also ported it in such a way that if someone puts in .com on a browser, that boom, it gets sent over to the .org website. And the URL at that point says .org. And I hadn't done it for SBE 17. It might be available, probably is, except it would cost money. So maybe I should talk to leadership about that.
Yeah, that seems like a smart thing to do, just to make sure that no one misuses a similar URL.
Well, how it progressed for me with the Veterans of Foreign Wars was I did the .org, and next thing you know, I got an email offer from somebody in China who was going to sell me the .com website for like $2,000. No, just the name for $2,000, but all I had to pay was $13 for it. And what I did was I waited a year and it became available, so I immediately grabbed it up. But you can imagine someone doing SBE17.com and then putting on bogus or really bad information. And it might be considered the website because it's a .com. Ouch.
Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate your time and your expertise. And it's like most people I've encountered in SBE, your willingness to answer questions for people. So
Okay.
if we have any more questions, is it okay if we reach out to you?
Oh, absolutely. And oh, by the way, I got one more that you didn't see this one. It was not on the menu system. It was just down at the bottom, and it was terms of use and disclaimer and all of that. But I found this image at a broadcasting museum, and I thought it went well with this material is supplied as is and without warranty. The whole idea is don't sue me. I'm just trying to do a good job.
Yeah.
Mark, if somebody is watching this and they want to contact you, how would they do it?
It's at the bottom of every page on sbe17.org. My email address is techie@mwpersons.com. But they could also contact me through the contact form right here and hit submit, and it'll wind up to me. And then I wouldn't forward it to the president. I just deal with it myself.
Okay.
Great.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Glad to help. Glad to share information. Glad to make the SBE as good as it can be. And this is all, I put it into the advertising category. And if I did it badly, it would reflect badly on the organization.